Quest 3 in itself is proof you don't need to spend a small fortune to get a great experience in VR. And that experience is only further enhanced through the use of virtual desktop. And today I'm going to be combining both of these to show you, without the need for any other add-in applications, what's possible with mixed reality so you can bring your real world into your VR environment using both Desk Portal and via hand tracking and Passthrough. Welcome everybody to your Flight Sim channel. My name's Mark and let's get started. And we'll start off with Desktop Portal, a very quick and simple method of creating a window into the real world within your VR application. We're in the Quest 3 home environment. Let's start up Virtual Desktop. Just to note, everything I'm showing here today works on the Play for Dreams MR headset as well. As you can see, I've already got Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 running, and we'll be able to test it in the sim. Let's bring up the Virtual Desktop menu. What we're looking for is the Streaming tab. And once in there, we are looking under the VR Passthrough. We want to check Desktop Portal. Make sure that's on. Then from the menu on the left hand side, we're going to select Input. I'm going to select Track Keyboard. This keeps the window in one place that we're about to create. Then select Create Desktop Portal. Once you do that, your controllers are visible in a pass-through circle. Then with either the left or right controller pressing the trigger, you can draw a square or a rectangle. Release the trigger to complete. You've now created a window into the real world. Delete it by selecting Close Desktop Portal. Let's create another portal, this time perhaps something more practical. Move my controller where I want the window to start, press the trigger, and I'm going to draw a rectangle over my keyboard. Once I'm satisfied with the size and shape, release the trigger. And there it is. Well, that was easy, but let's test it and make sure that it works actually within Microsoft Flight Simulator. Just going to select Resume, and then let's jump into VR. Just turn off the performance overlay and the top toolbar. We're now in Sim, in VR, and if we look down, we can see our portal. Now this video was recorded directly in the VR headset. The window itself does look a little bit floaty. There is a bit of movement, but it's not as floaty as it appears in the video. Ignore the black square that's popped up there. That was just a note to me that the battery was getting very low. Now of course it doesn't have to be your keyboard. It could be some charts, maps, notes, checklist, anything of that sort. And I must say the pass-through quality is very good. Just enabled the top toolbar again. And as a part of our settings, we select Track Keyboard. No matter where I look, the keyboard or the window is going to remain in the same place. Very handy indeed. There are, however, a number of limitations that you need to be aware of. First and foremost, the window that you create has to be flat or horizontal. It doesn't have the facility to make it a vertical window. Plus it only supports one window at a time. You can angle the window to some degree depending on how you draw it. To get rid of the portal itself is straightforward. Exit VR. We go back to the Virtual Desktop menu. Then it's just a simple process of unchecking those items that we checked. First of all, close the portal, take off Track Keyboard, go to Streaming, and unclick Desktop Portal. If we were now to jump back into Sim, back into VR, and we can see that our portal has disappeared, and we're right back to where we started. Desktop Portal, quick and easy. Ideal for creating a small window into the outside world, but comes with some limitations. Let's now move on and have a look at our hand portal, which is a surprisingly versatile and useful use of mixed reality. We're back to Meta Horizon Home, and before jumping into Virtual Desktop, there's a couple of settings we need to do. From the main menu bar, we're going to select the cog or settings icon. This will bring up our settings menu. Then from the menu on the left hand side, we need to scroll down, and what we're looking for is movement tracking. Select that. And we want to enable hand and body tracking. As soon as we select this, we will have hand tracking enabled. We also need to pay attention to a couple of other settings here. Check that the automatic switch between controllers and hands is on, and you can also, optional, adjust the auto switch sensitivity. There are 3 settings that are available: high, medium and low. I've left mine on mid for now. The setting affects the speed at which it will switch between controller and hands. Optionally, you can choose to enable the double tap. This means when you double tap the controllers, it switches to hand tracking automatically. Press trigger or button on the controllers to revert back to controller tracking. And that's it, we're done here. We can now exit. And as we did before, we can start up Virtual Desktop. While we start up, just a note that I am running Virtual Desktop OpenXR Runtime VDXR. Once again, I'm going to bring up the Virtual Desktop menu, looking for the Streaming tab. Once again, heading all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to enable Hands. Note we don't need to configure anything, just enable Hands. And as before, let's head over to the Input tab. And of course, this time we're going to enable Hand Tracking. I now no longer need to use my controllers, I can just use my hands. And if you note, the input options on the menu has changed. And what we want to select is Pass-Through Hands. To do this, we use the gesture control of thumb and forefinger, pinch them together to activate like a mouse click. So let's do that. Thumb and forefinger pinched and pass-through mode has now been activated. And now both my hands are activated as a pass-through portal. As I move my hands around, what you can see is my cockpit directly in front of me, and each hand portal is completely independent. Activation was simple, but you need to do every step that I showed you. Let's now jump into Sim and give it a test. We're now in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I'm going to tap my controllers together to activate hand tracking. Then I'm going to place my controllers down on a flat surface, actually on the floor next to me, so that hand tracking remains activated. I don't use the controllers while I fly. It'll just take a short moment or two to activate, as I had it set on mid if you remember in terms of sensitivity, and there it is. My hand tracking is now activated, and my hand pass-through portals are now working. I can see my keyboard. If I hold my hands up in front of me, I can see my cockpit. There are my Flight Sim Builder instruments, my G1000s, etc. Here's my Alpha yoke. I can have a look at the switches, the Bravo throttle quadrant. I can adjust the levers, autopilot, and so on. Once again, the pass-through quality is really good. I can see everything quite clearly. If you follow this channel at all, you'll be aware that I've done a number of videos on mixed reality. I gotta say, this hand portal, just about my favorite. Another really cool feature is if you keep your hands still or move them very slowly, after a period of time the pass-through portals will disappear. Move your hand again and they reappear. Well, I've now taken the Zenith, the Stall Master, up in the air. And let's just see how practical or otherwise it'll be. Let's come back a little bit on the throttle there. Pass-through portal is clearly visible as I move my hand. Perhaps I want to adjust some of my instruments, perhaps adjust the barrow or something of that nature. Well, I can do. You just have to be a little bit cautious because behind the portal, of course, it is hand tracking, so at times you'll see the pointer, but again it's unlikely to activate anything in the cockpit unless you push your thumb and forefinger together, etc. This seems to work quite seamlessly. I encourage you to give it a go. You may be very pleasantly surprised. And of course, if you've already got Virtual Desktop, well, it won't cost you a penny to try these two options out. Desktop portal and your hand tracking portal or pass-through hands. Now, I've only recently been experimenting with these, so if you know of any settings that will give an improved performance, or perhaps something that I missed, don't hesitate to drop it in the comments below for both my and other subscriber benefits. Well, everybody, I hope you found this useful and informative. Thanks very much for being with me. Stay well, look after yourselves. I'll see you all again very soon. And ciao for now.